rooftop in Chinatown. Going city buses just to get around. Paw made dumpling soup when I was down. Had a preheat with a song, hope you play it loud. From a rooftop in Chinatown.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Today I'm really looking forward to today's chat. We're going to be talking with someone that we've been trying to get together for a couple months now, but we're finally going to get together on a call. Today we are speaking with singer, rapper, songwriter, and a San Francisco kid through and through. We are talking to Kyle Shin, also known as Son of Paper. Hey Kyle, what's up?
Thanks so much for having me. Shout out to Kim for making this happen as well.
Yeah, Kim's kind of like the middle person for all of these things. She knows everyone, and so it's always good to have Kim. And speaking of Kim, we actually have Kim herself. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have all these connections. And she is, of course, if just to remind everyone out there, she is Miss Asian Global Community Service herself. It is Kim Szeto. Welcome back, Kim.
Hello. It's always great to be here, and I'm so happy to have Kyle on here as well.
How did you guys meet?
Yeah, so kind of run it back through the pandemic. When I was working at the Chinese Historical Society, we had this makers fair in October 2021, and Kyle was one of our performers, and I was like, wow, his music slaps. It's really good. It's very fire, and remember buying a shirt that day, and I realized his name wasn't Son of Paper, but like we all call him Son of Paper, right? That was when I first realized his name was Kyle. And then we've kind of kept in touch, and now I'm part of his management team. So it's kind of really been a journey over the past, I think, year and a half.
Nice.
It's crazy. I feel like I've known Kyle like since we were kids.
You guys have that common connection with a lot of different Chinatown organizations too. I feel like you guys bump into each other all the time.
We do, yeah. Definitely at least once a month, like unplanned.
That's awesome. Yeah, I don't know, audience out there, I don't know if you know how small San Francisco is, let alone SF Chinatown. Like it's a small community. San Francisco itself is dinky. It's under 1 million people. And if you grow up here and you know some people, like, I've had over the last 20 something years, I've had thousands and thousands of high school students because I'm a teacher, right? So if we go to Stonestown or we go anywhere, Union Square, Clement Street, whatever, I'll usually bump into someone that I know from the last 20 years, right? My kids kind of think I'm a little mini celebrity. They're not impressed, but they're like, how do you know all these people? And it's just because San Francisco, it's just super tiny.
Absolutely. And I think that's kind of one of the like huge privileges, I think, of being like SF born and raised and still doing music from SF as a home base is like I don't take it for granted anymore, definitely. Like I kind of feel like if I had moved to LA or to New York City, would have been kind of starting over with network, and it's kind of a who you know industry a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll talk a little more about SF and Chinatown, maybe a little Cameron House. We'll throw in a little 38 Geary. We'll talk a little San Francisco today. But thanks so much for coming on, Kyle. And Kim, as usual, thank you for coming along.
Of course.
If it's okay, can we dig into your roots a little bit? It's a little complicated, right? It's not super simple.
Yeah.
Hence the name Son of Paper, right? So you're Chinese American on your mom's side. And how far back do you trace that?
So I grew up thinking it was four generations, being my taipa, who was a paper daughter. But then I found out in the last year that we actually have some family that was fifth generation as well. On my mom's side, my mom's grandpa came.
Yeah. And so do you know like years? Is it like 1800s or early 1900s?
Yeah, like really late 1800s. But most of the family came through in like the 30s.
Yeah. And you use the term paper daughter and then you call yourself Son of Paper. For our audience, can you let them know kind of what that means?
Yeah. So, Paper Son of Paper. It was I definitely wanted a name that contained the Asian heritage, but I didn't want to make it too obvious. So it's a little bit of a niche, very San Francisco history in particular. So Paper Sons and daughters. They came through Angel Island, and it was during a time where Chinese people were not allowed in, uh, for the most part, to come into the States at all. And it was
Yeah.
the first ban based on race in
Hmm.
America, and it's actually kind of connected to slave history as well in our country, as the U.S. was transitioning away from black slavery, and they needed a new labor force. So a lot of Chinese men, everyone knows about the railroads and um, just their physical contributions to society. But
Hmm.
the paper sun history is also deeply connected to San Francisco history and immigration history in the States.
Yeah. So like a lot of dudes came over in the 1800s and then they went back. I think on my dad's side, my grandfather was born in China, but his dad was here. And so, because of the Exclusion Act, the only way you could get over here is if you had a relative that had been here already, that had
Right.
established some. So they had these quote unquote paper sons, right? Which basically is just a piece of paper that said, "Yeah, this is my dad. He was here in the 1800s." And they lost a lot of these records in the 1906 earthquake, right? So they kind of had they they kind of there was
A
this
loophole.
assist this yeah, the system. Yeah, they played the system a little bit
Hmm.
where it's like, hey, my dad was here, here's the piece of paper that says it. So for some of us, like, my last name is Chin, but I don't know if it really is. Yeah, I don't even know if it is or not, because maybe that was just on paper. It was just like a piece of paper that said I was related to some dude who came over in the 1800s. So, yeah, it's kind of a trip to think about. Wait, am I even who I am? I think I am. Just because it's just a piece of paper. So, yeah, so that's a cool homage to that. And it was kind of rough, right, back then. I mean, we don't see a lot of it, but that show Warrior kind of touches on that a little bit. And then, of course, the we've heard about the Exclusion Act, but just to go live through it is a whole nother thing. So, yeah, so that's cool. I like that. And then on your dad's side, you have a South Korean heritage.
Yes. Um, so my dad, who was born in Seoul, um, our family is actually descended partly from this town that's now in North Korea called Wonsan.
Uh huh.
And during the conflict, the Korean War, they came to the South, and um, then moved to Canada, then fled again. I won't go too deep into that, but my dad grew up in New York City, so very much like Flushing,
Uh huh.
like just like the
Yeah.
Korean New York City vibes.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have a little bit of both cultures in you, and some of your songs reflect that.
Hmm.
Um, is it almost a daily thing that you think about culture and where you came from, or are there some days where you're able to forget about it a little bit, or how does culture affect you on a daily?
Oh, that's a good question. I think growing up here in San Francisco, like I didn't really connect or understand my Korean roots very much. There's just
Hmm.
not as many Koreans that I grew up with. I've always felt very like Chinese American, and um even though I don't speak the language, I'm just surrounded by them when I'm in the outer Richmond, where I'm at right now, outer Sunset, Chinatown, and just like Cameron House in particular, a place we'll talk about later. I'm thinking,
Hmm.
and yeah, and so kind of the Korean side, like through media, but also I studied Korean. I was a East Asian Studies Korean language concentration major at Wesleyan.
Oh, really? Were you always into music? When did the music thing really take up? Was it like high school? Were you sneaking in some music on your iPod and listening during class, or was music a big thing for you?
Um, I always identified much more as like, oh, I'm a student, I'm an athlete, and I do I enjoy creative things, but I never like thought of myself as artist as
Huh.
a youth. I think I was a big fan of like just hip hop, R&B, and like a lot of like 70s and 80s music that my mom would play in the car. And but I never like I was like, oh yeah, I can do that. Like that's me. I think it kind of like bloomed maybe in the middle of high school.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So are you more of a lyrics first person or a music? Do you get the beats and the rhythms first, or do you do the lyrics first? How does your process work?
Hmm. I totally flip-flop. I think the one unique thing that I don't really know like what other people do too much, but
Uh-huh.
like what I do is I really spend a lot of time on the first line of the song. To me, like the first line has to be like at least has to have words that are not generic in it. So
Yeah.
I focus on making it both melodically and lyrically like quite distinct from other songs, from even from my own songs. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so to me, like it's like, yeah, it's like the hook that brings the listener in and be like, oh, okay, this is not, he's not right, he's not doing the cat in the hat, rhymes right
Yeah.
now. So
Yeah. 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 It sounds like you kind of go chorus first on a lot of your songs that I can think of.
mm.
Is that because yeah, that's the line that you want to be out there, so you kind of start with that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe it's like hip hop genre thing.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to this year in particular branch out, like do as much like of course I'm doing hip hop and like R&B, but I'm trying to actually work on some other genres this year.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I noticed like you do some singing, there's some jazz samples. There's a variety of your stuff. It's not all hardcore hip hop. There's a lot of variety to what you do. Of your earlier stuff, do you have a favorite song? We'll talk about Rooftop in Chinatown in a second, but do you have some favorites from your earlier days?
Ooh. Um, I think there's a lot of songs that I'll never have that same feeling again, kind of,
Huh, huh.
like I think like just the my first EP, like it's called just self-titled Son of Paper EP.
Uh-huh.
I recorded with my recording mentor. His name's Malik of
Uh-huh.
Aquarius, and he's featured on a lot of tracks. And just like he used to live near Ocean Beach, like
Uh-huh.
on right on like 48th basically. And I would just bike over to his house, and he would just record me for free, like
Uh-huh.
hours and hours and hours, like a whole summer. And that was the foundation of everything I do. Like he taught me how to like listen and improve on my own. So like just the work that came out of that, like while it's not it doesn't have technical perfection,
Yeah.
it just like is so special to me.
Yeah. It's kind of like your first love. Yeah, cool. Kim, do you have a favorite song from the early ones?
Well, my favorite, Kyle always knows this. I say it all the time because I'm always like, can you please perform it? Is Soju Over Ice. I think a lot of
Uh-huh.
us are
Yeah.
Soju fans. But if you're talking about songs that kind of like dig into like deeper meanings, I do really like From a Rooftop in Chinatown because um, it really is kind of the epitome of like being an SF kid, being an SF Chinatown kid,
Uh-huh.
because there's always these crazy cool references, right? Like Kyle would mention, lines, then, like sampling things from Frying Pan, A Walk, right? Like all
Uh-huh.
these like sensory things you kind of have growing up in Chinatown, and just even kind of walking through Chinatown, the food, the people, the places. SF Chinatown's definitely a unique place.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's definitely my favorite on the new album. It just yeah. So Kyle, let's jump into that since we're talking about from a rooftop in Chinatown. Um, for me, I started out just listening casually to it, and it hits, and it's a good song. But then you start listening to the lyrics, and you start to realize there's a lot going on in there. What was kind of what was the genesis of From a Rooftop in Chinatown?
It was right here. I was sitting right
Yeah.
here in my studio apartment in the central Richmond, and I was on a Zoom call with producer and the executive producer of this album. His name is Sebastian Chang, and we were digging through Splice, which is kind of like a crate for samples, a virtual
Uh-huh.
crate,
Uh-huh.
and we just heard the flute. We heard that like the the like just that little riff. That was it. And then we, scrolled past it. We're like, wait, let's go back to that one. So he dragged it in, and then he was like, give me 30 seconds. And 30 seconds later the drum pattern was done, and that's the bulk of like the heart and soul of the song is just the drums and
Yeah.
that sample. So
Yeah.
once we had that, he was like, what if you like what if you just did something like from a rooftop in Chinatown, da 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 da, and then we wrote the song in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was one of those fast ones.
That's the perfect storm, right? When you just inspiration, the timing, the beat, everything just lines up. You mind taking a listen with us on this?
Let's do it.
Let's do a couple of seconds of this. All right.
Song, hope you play it loud. From a rooftop in Chinatown. Homegrown city buses just to get around. Papa made dumpling soup when I was down. Had to put you in a song, hope you play it loud. What's cooking? The walk is hot as torch flames. I got a spot for food flex like I'm ordained. When I'm on tour, they won't ask me where I rep. Cause I'm missing Chinatown till I breathe my last breath. Till I walk my last step, I'll be running up the shows. Beat busting through the city, I'm the one like all my trophies. Was stuck in traffic on the 19th Ave. I recall the house parties that the homies tried to crash. Like glass trunk windows right by Golden Gate Park.
All right. So everyone from San Francisco, their heart is warm now. 19th. That's someone I used to live on 19th and Kirkham. You know, like I know the 28 well. I know that street well.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, where is the rooftop in Chinatown that you kind of inspired you on this one?
Yeah, if people have seen The Pursuit of Happiness, that's probably the most like,
Uh-huh.
memorable film that uses it. It's where he's playing basketball with his son, Will Smith and Jaden Smith, and Jaden's like, "I want to play basketball, Dad," and Will's like, "I don't know if you have the right genes, coming from me." Like, and then when Jaden gets upset, Will's like, "Hey, man, actually, like, don't ever let someone talk to you like that, including me." So it's just a very moving scene, and it's the perfect backdrop of to me, the best view of the city is right on that rooftop, and it's the Cameron House rooftop, which is
Yeah.
a nonprofit in Chinatown, and it's private, so it's
You
a
can't just
private
go play
court,
there.
like there's a lot of people that break into it, so don't be that person if you're listening to this.
Yeah. No, legendary. I mean, the Cameron House itself. We should do a whole episode on Cameron House. I mean, it's established to help women back in the 1800s, Chinese women by a woman, Presbyterian woman, Donaldina Cameron, who just wanted to help out these Chinese women who there weren't a whole lot of women back then, but yeah, most of them were working in the brothels, or not most, but a bunch of them were working in the brothels, and so she really felt a mission for them and created the Cameron House Church and Community Center, and yeah, for decades and decades and decades, it's just been a place for kids. My mom went there when she was a kid. Shout out to Harry Chuck, like a longtime minister there, and so it's just been, for Chinatown, it's really kind of a community center / center of Chinatown for a lot of people. They used to have the carnival every year, and then so many things go in and out of Cameron House. But that rooftop, yeah, you gotta, maybe you took some pictures there, you shot some video there, you did a concert there, so maybe I'll grab one of those pictures. But yeah, it's one of those iconic places in Chinatown that as soon as you show it, people in Chinatown will know what you're talking about.
I hope so. I recently hung out with Josh Chuck, Harry's son,
Yeah.
and Anson, and they're telling me about that there was also dances. There was like
Uh-huh.
Friday night, Saturday night dances, and there was like a line out the door from, people just in the neighborhood, even outside of it, that heard how cool, and like had DJs. It was like
Yeah.
a place to be. But it's changed a
100%.
lot. It's transformed a lot,
Yeah.
especially during pandemic, and there's a lot of dark history about the Cameron House as well.
For you, what's the meaning behind this song? From a rooftop in Chinatown, is it just you're up there observing, or what's going on in your head when you think about being on a rooftop in Chinatown?
Ooh. Just being on this rooftop, to me, it's where I grew up. It's like my adolescence, Friday night club,
Uh-huh.
summer camp, going to all those programs. And it was where I learned how, to be a person, and
Yeah.
just like playing sports with friends, and it was always the vantage point that I was most familiar with and most in touch with, I guess, when it came to Chinatown itself. And so when I was thinking about what to name this project, I kind of like originally was going to call it the Mr. Chinatown EP, but it had a little bit of vibe that it was perhaps like I was the mayor of Chinatown or I was the protector of Chinatown, which is not true. So instead, I wanted to come across like this is the location that I'm going to tell you my story from, and from this roof, maybe other neighborhoods you can hear what I'm doing, and maybe we can start a conversation, and share stories from this elevated space and the safe space. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, love it. Love it.
Yeah, so another song that has deep roots in the Asian American experience is Toothless. Kyle, do you want to talk a little bit more about that track?
yeah. Well, Curtis, did you recognize whose voice is at the beginning of that track?
Yeah, that's Harry Chuck, right, from when they were doing from his movie Chinatown Rising, and so they went to the San Francisco Housing Board or whatever they were, and so you grabbed a sample from that film where he was like, "Hey, you don't get that Chinatown, so we're gonna bring Chinatown housing to you," and they showed the living conditions of Chinatown, and it really moved people. I think just showing them what people are living in.
Yeah.
And it's to this day, people still living in those conditions,
Right.
SROs and small units.
Yeah. To me, Toothless, it almost didn't make the track list because we didn't have the feature on it until the very end. Who I mentioned is Malik of Aquarius, my former mentor, who lives in Hawaii now. So it's just hard to, pin him down and get the feature.
Yeah.
Yeah, this song, it is to me, I think it's the most important track in terms of exploring Black and Asian, like just that story and the current environment and conditions that are have been really stirred up by the media, especially. And as we think about anti-Asian violence, this is the track that to me is important when you unpeel the layers to understand my stance on this current issue. So the first verse, after the Harry Chuck housing intro, my verse kind of talks about just the pain and the struggle of, but not from my perspective, from the perspective of like an older Asian man that maybe he fought in wars, maybe he just has a big chip on his shoulder from growing up in a tough time. Chinatown beat, people coming in, like cops coming in to really terrorize Chinatown. Lots of gang violence history as well in SF Chinatown. So it's kind of imagining what would his story sound like. So I tried to create that image. And the second verse, which is really crucial to this whole project existing, is from Malik, and he raps about from the perspective of a homeless Black man that is just so stereotyped and just frustrated with just how he is portrayed and how people just treat him really inhumanely. So giving these two characters and really, I mean, it's not even just a character, it's like real life people, giving that voice was important for me in putting some nuance into this story.
Yeah, let's listen to a little bit of it. All right, this is Toothless featuring Malik of Aquarius by Son of Paper.
I'll be gritty and toothless. They would never assume running this game like I'm juice. Come get your due. Stacked and be acting a fool. Jade on my neck is a jewel.
Yeah. They always looking at me crazy, man, like I don't know what's going on. They have no idea where I came from.
I used to be special just like y'all. Yeah. It's been a minute since any sentence been my defendant. They rescinded all our respect, enslaving our descendants. Every sentence therefore that's spoken or further handed down is evidence of relentless efforts to keep our presence down. So now what? We found stuff to hate each other for. Preconditions so we don't unify them all. Keeping us divided has been the plan since day one. But we got more in common than not. So why you playing, son? The devil's got us fighting. To them the exciting. Confine us to our own ghettos and got us genocide. Our brothers out here dying while Asian moms are crying. And all we want is some love from this land we occupy. They see me, they see
The problem with having such a good beat and such a good rhythm to it is that people don't listen as carefully to the lyrics. But when you really listen to it, did you write both parts of that, or did Malik write part of that too?
He wrote his entire verse. But we went back and forth and had calls about like how to really do this in a graceful way.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, to me, that's like you actually nailed it. Like I want it to sound really good, like, and just like, you know, like could be a banger you listen to it at the gym, you know?
Yeah.
But then if people like want to dive deeper, there's always layers that I'm hiding and trying to add to my work.
Yeah. I gotta ask, as a teacher at Galileo High School, that running like juice, is that a reference to Galileo's most infamous alumni?
That is indeed.
Nice. That's deep SF knowledge, guys. If you listen to that lyric, running like juice, like OJ, Galileo High School, class of '65, I believe.
Yeah. As I was preparing to like work for the Chinatown Rising documentary, they made me watch the OJ documentaries too, and I didn't know he was like went to Gal and all that stuff. So it was, yeah. He's unrelated, but
yeah, unrelated. But he was our claim to fame, and also our claim of infamy now. But but no, he was a good football player, that's for sure. Yeah. No, I like that. I like this album. You know, it seems really, really personal to you. Is part of this coming out of the pandemic, you know, and what stuff we've seen on TV, and just you know, just some pent up feelings that we have as Asian Americans, seeing people in Chinatown getting smacked, or, you know, like just senseless kind of stuff.
Absolutely. But I also, you know, I think I you know, even though the violence started happening in early 2020, I waited to release this album because I knew that I didn't want to just add fuel to the fire.
Right.
Create work that just makes Asians, you know, feel angrier. So I wanted to make something with nuance and that told the story from a personal violence account, not a generic like picking
Third
a team
person,
kind of.
yeah.
So to me, if people listen all the way through, they'll feel healing and transformation in the way that violence and fear and all hope and all these things can have changed for me from high school until now.
Yeah. No, it's been a tough time for people, and I think we're still processing it. It's still happening, you know. So I think it's just part of who we are now, you know, as a society, as people. I think we're still learning how to deal with our feelings as well. So it's good to have artists like you putting words to it, you know, putting music to it, helping us work through it in a way. But we should say that the album isn't all activism and just, you know, dealing with things. There are some fun songs too. You know, there's some love songs. Are you kind of a romantic at heart? I noticed some of your love songs are about, you know, riding a bus with a girl, or you know, just missing love. What's the romantic side of Kyle Shin?
What do you think, Kimberly?
Kim started laughing, by the way, just now. She's giving the rolling on the floor laughing emoji right now. Oh, all right, let's play a few seconds. What's your favorite love song on your stuff?
I think Miss Love is probably the one that people are connecting with the strongest right now.
It's the current one. Yeah, let's do a little Miss Love.
If I'm a real smooth criminal, I'm guilty as charged. And if love is just a chemical, then why is it involved? Yeah. At times I found myself frozen. Shocked I was toying with women's emotions. Oceans of guilt, they might flood. We do unspeakable things, but we gotta speak up. What good comes from latex after 2? What you doing? I just wanna chill and vibe with you. With you. Real love, you gon' know it when you feel it, that is real love.
That was Missed Love by Son of Paper. All right, Kyle, why is Kim laughing when I called you a romantic?
I mean, that's, I
Say
think
he is.
it's really the origin, of me wanting to write songs was just like trying to sort through things that I couldn't understand,
Yeah,
things that
yeah.
happened to me, or just the way things were in society, right? With just like Asian stereotypes and stuff,
Hmm.
how to express myself. So, of course, love and romance was one of the major confusions as a adolescent
Hmm.
young man
Hmm.
growing up in SF. So, yeah, it's still, I think a lot of my upcoming work is also gonna touch on that side again.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think as I just scrolled through like all your different projects, I mean, you have a song about insanity, right? You have a song about In the Armor, like things come and go in your life and whatever's at the front of your brain. I saw I think what song was it that you dedicated to your friend Avon, who passed away?
Mm. It's called Autumn.
Yeah, that was in 2021. Well, the song was came out in 2021, but
Mm.
yeah, just different things happen in your life, and then is that kind of been your go-to now way of expressing things by music or writing a poem and putting beats to it?
I think the it always comes like I don't write. It's not like something bad happens to me and I write about it the next day, or like,
Right, right.
but it's when I've come to peace with it and I can see the full picture. That's when I usually write songs. So um, yeah, the Avon's death, I guess, in 2020 definitely took me time to process, and but I think music can be really healing for the self, but also for the community. So
Hmm.
there's a lot of other features and vocals from people that work at Sunset Youth. So we kind of like did that together. I think that's
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
how it should be.
Yeah, actually, I don't know if you know this, but I actually worked with Ron and Don and Delvin over there at Sunset Youth Services. Shout out to Sunset Youth Services out in the outer sunset.
Yes, big shout out. I'm actually considering possibly working part-time for them a little bit to work with some youth and record some music. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be dope. Yeah, cool. I didn't know that you had that connection actually until I read your KQED piece. Yeah, so that's cool.
Awesome.
All right. Yeah. See, that's the thing about SF, man. You know one person, you're gonna overlap with some people for sure. So yeah. All right, man. So everyone out there, you can listen to some of this music in its entirety. You can go to Spotify. I found the largest collection of stuff on SoundCloud. Do you agree with that, Kyle? Is that
Yeah. I don't know if yeah, I think like all my songs are on SoundCloud, but there was like a transition period before Spotify became easy to use.
Yeah, yeah. So if you want to go deep into the archives with Son of Paper, you can go on SoundCloud, Apple Music, wherever you can download music, you can find Son of Paper. He's got a couple videos on YouTube, super fun. If you're an SF native, you gotta watch. You got to watch some of his earlier videos. Like Ride With Me is literally a tour of San Francisco. You can get from Fisherman's Wharf all the way out to the beach and all over the place with that video. It's super fun to see local stuff as Kyle raps. It's kind of like a guerrilla video, right? You're like on the cable car filming. You don't have permission to film in the back of the bus, but you're just there filming.
I mean, that's to me like there's I've always been, like not the just like I think that's the spirit of hip hop and like just music and just growing up here is just like whatever you can do, like just do it, just like be courageous and get kicked out of the mall sometimes, whatever. But just keep going too. And now I'm very happy to say that I can, I pay my other artists that I work with, and I don't steal beats from YouTube anymore or anything. So, it just takes time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like I said earlier, I met Kyle in the community when he was performing at one of my work events, and that's kind of how our relationship kind of like spiraled because we started seeing each other at a lot of things after that. And we'd love to know more about your community work and your involvement in the community as well as performing for all of these like community organizations.
Yeah. I think performance is one of the greatest, I don't know, things in my life. Like I just love being on stage, and like just interacting with audience. And um I think that's how a lot of people in SF probably have seen me peripherally is like on a random stage in Chinatown. And um I've done stuff in the Sunset, a little bit San Jose, Oakland, just starting to like branch out. And yeah, I mean, Kim's been helping as well. Like she's on my team, so we've been trying to do some touring outside of SF. But uh, like just performing is like the main way that I make money in music, and it's the way that I connect deeply with audience members, um, and just have like the most inspiring conversations after performing, and then talking to people about how they connect to the songs. Um, so yeah, I mean, we have a lot of shows coming up, Kim, and the one that's coming up right after this episode drops is gonna be April 8th. So um, at the I think it's called just like the Makeout Room in the Mission,
Yeah.
and yeah, then there's just like six more that people can catch me on most parts of the West Coast.
What's the easiest place for people to find out about these concerts?
They can join my email list. That'll be or follow me on
Okay, yeah.
Instagram. That'd be great. So all my socials are at Son of Paper, SONOFPAPER. Uh, I also have a website, sonofpaper.com, and Kim and I will probably update that as well, the tour stuff.
All right. Yeah. So follow Kyle or follow Son of Paper on Instagram at Son of Paper. And then there's links in your bio there.
Hmm.
And then you'll probably post stuff about concerts. So if you want to see Son of Paper live, if you're in the Bay Area, easy. And then I think you're doing a SoCal swing soon. Are you going down
Yeah,
south?
we're doing LA primarily, as well as Chapman University.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. So everyone should get out there. If you have a chance to see Son of Paper live, it's probably the way to hear it, right? Like SoundCloud is great and all, but hearing it live just hits different. Yeah.
Yeah. I was talking to a friend the other day, like about like why live music is sounds so much better. And I think one of the main reasons is just the way that music is edited these days.
Yeah.
When you put it on a streaming platform, you want to make it as loud as possible, and there's not as
Mm.
much dynamics in the music.
No nuance. Yeah.
Yeah, so hearing it live, they can't keep it the same volume the whole time, so it can get quiet, and you feel a different mood from just the way that the vocalists or instrumentals like how they kind of like
Yeah.
move with the song too.
Right. Right. And it's not like a computer beat, it's like a live beat. You're hearing people singing next to you, you're hearing glasses clink, you're hearing,
Hmm.
it's just different when you're just with people, you're experiencing it as a group. Yeah. So
He sounds so good live.
I got to get out to one of your concerts too. I'm an old man though, so getting out of the house past 8 o'clock is hard for me. But I'll do one of these days. I got to go. Kim, keep bothering me. I'll get out of the house one of these days. All right, Kyle, you have survived the difficult question. It is now time for the lightning round. You ready?
Oh man. I guess I'm ready as I'll ever be.
All right, let's do it. So I dug deep. I dug deep into the Kyle Shin archive, and I found that you had a little podcast. You yourself are a podcaster, and it was called Tea with My Uncle Iros. And everyone should go listen to it. There's a bunch of good interviews on there. Josh Chuck and Harry Chuck are two of the interviews on there. Jason Chu, another good interview on there. But I'm going to ask you to riff off of that and tell me, who is your favorite Avatar Last Airbender character?
uh, I mean, of course, Uncle Iroh's up there, but
Yeah.
I really like Zuko's arc.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and like to see him also return in Korra, and
Yeah.
be an old guy is pretty amazing to see, how someone that has so much childhood trauma, and just like set out to be one kind of personality or one can like shift and like find transformation is like pretty dope. And like Dante Bosco's voice is great.
Yeah, Dante Bosco. Yeah, yeah. No, shout out to Prince Zuko. Good arc on him. All right. Hey, do you have a favorite song lyric from yourself, and then a song lyric not from yourself? What's your favorite? What's your favorite rhyme?
One thing, I mean, maybe the one that like right now just off top is we were shaken but we overcame
Mm-hmm.
is just the line chorus song called Overcame. And
Uh-huh.
like if I had to get a tattoo, it'd probably be that one, just
Yeah.
to show the then and now and just the track the journey.
Do
I
you like those
don't
kind of rhymes where it's a little bit imperfect, where it's not like a perfect rhyme, where you kind of
Oh, that's I only write imperfect rhymes.
yeah, yeah. It's more
um
clever that way. Yeah.
yeah, so just definitely like yeah, definitely working with sounds, bending words like that's just how I was inspired when I was starting out. Like Eminem, Kanye, they would always like really really twist and bend a word, and they would just yeah they made it so interesting.
Yeah.
Both like it's like a puzzle, kind of mathematical, but also like so human too when you bend a word and make it, you can paint a picture in someone's head.
For real. All right. This last one I think is going to be hard too. What is your favorite spot? It could be food or a shop or just somewhere to sit. What's your favorite spot in SF Chinatown?
Besides the rooftop, I mean,
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
like,
Besides the rooftop.
ooh, yeah. It's, I mean, I think I gotta give it to maybe Portsmouth Square.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just like it's not that clean. It's like kind of noisy at all
Yeah.
hours,
Yeah.
uh, which I
And
like. Which I
I heard
like.
I heard a lyric. You play a little chess. Do you ever play chess down there in
I'm trying
Portsmouth
to I'm
Square?
trying to get better at Chinese chess. I'm not good
Uh-huh.
enough to recognize the characters yet,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
that's a goal. It's a bucket list item.
For real. All right, and Kyle, we like to end our show by asking our guests to pick an infatuation. Infatuation is anyone in the Asian community, living or deceased, that has inspired you. So, son of paper, Kyle Shin, who is your infatuation?
This is the hardest question, honestly.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, let's see. Oh yeah. It's actually very easy. Norman Fong. Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Reverend Nora Fong, he's a minister with,
He's done like Presbyterian Church. He
yeah.
was at Cameron House. Like he's stuff with them. CCDC.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. His niece was in my class. Leilani? No, Maylani?
Oh, Liani.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she
Yeah,
was
I
in
grew up
my
with
class.
her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
she was in my class for a minute. I don't think she was there for that long, but yeah, Norman Fong, community leader. He's been around, right? He's been around for a while, a couple decades.
yeah.
Face is also on a mural in Chinatown.
Yeah, no, he does so much for the community. Yeah, no, good pick.
Yeah. To me, like even though he's not like the most famous per se, or like he's not necessarily like I mean he actually is a musician. He's not he's part of a band called
Oh
Just
yeah,
Jammin',
yeah,
and just like what he's done for like particularly like Asian Chinese American community facing outwards is like really, you know, like unprecedented. and he just is just a master of yeah, just showing love and compassion to anyone. And to me, like that's what I hope to do through my music.
Yeah. No, Just Jamming is good. They play at Gal sometimes for fundraisers. Yeah, they're really good. All right, yeah, Norman Fong. Shout out Norman Fong. All right. Well, I think that does it for our episode. Thank you so much, Son of Paper, a.k.a. Kyle Shin, and of course, co-host Kimberly Szeto. You can follow Kyle at Son of Paper on Instagram, YouTube, or pretty much all the social media platforms. You can hear his music on Spotify, Apple Music, or SoundCloud, or visit Kyle's website, sonofpaper.com. So we talked about April 8th coming up soon at the Makeout Room in the Mission, and you can also check his Instagram to find out other concerts coming up. And as always, you can follow Kim at QT Kimbers, KYUTIE Kimbers on Instagram. Or you just go to any event near or around Chinatown and you'll see Kim there.
Very true.
Kim, what do you have coming up soon?
Yeah, I mean, definitely more events coming up. Definitely with API month coming up in May.
yeah.
There's so many events. Kind of just keep your eye out. All these organizations are doing things. I have a little piece of the pie. All of them, helping them promote. You'll probably see me there. Walking down the street in Chinatown, eating my pig's heart.
Yeah. I got to give you some business cards, Kim. You got to pass them out to people when you see them.
Definitely. Yeah, we have some mahjong sessions coming up. We have my org's doing a gala. Joy and Joyce is coming back, which is like the API Vendors Fair over at the Chinese Historical Society. There's also going to be an API Heritage fair down on Grant at the end of May as well. You'll probably catch me out in the sunset doing API events out there as well.
All right. Actually, and I believe Son of Paper is playing Joy on Joyce, yeah?
I think so.
All right, yeah, maybe that's the one I got to go to. Maybe I'll go see you on that one. That'd be a good one.
Awesome.
All right. So thanks, Kim. Thank you, Kyle. And as usual, you can write to us at infatuasianpodcast@gmail.com. You can always follow us on Instagram or Facebook at The Infatuasian Podcast. Thank you, everyone out there, for listening to us. And on behalf of Son of Paper, Kim, and myself, we hope that you are all happy and healthy and safe out there. We will talk to you again soon, and bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks for having me.
I missold you. But why is it $13.99? Soju bottles over ice. No one looking at a price tag, yeah. Easy peasy like a bike. Bumping speakers and a mic stand, yeah. Soju bottles over ice. No one looking at a price tag, yeah. Easy peasy like a bike. Bumping speakers and a